Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we were all about the numbers, and that was one of the reasons that company was one of the most successful restaurant chains in history. We had the highest profit margin of any restaurant chain ever in the history of restaurants. So we were all about the numbers. So we drilled it down in terms of food cost, labor cost, all the controllables. We budgeted our expenses. We had regular meetings. We measured our performance. We managed our performance and the outcome. So we didn't just write a schedule. We budgeted it. We said we have $500 to spend, in the kitchen this week, and we would budget those hours out or whatever it was, and by each position. So it was really management by the numbers, and then leading, delegating, motivating. So we had weekly meetings where we trained ourselves and worked with each other as managers in all of our departments. And we did inventory every week in the restaurant, so we knew exactly what our food cost was. So in the restaurant industry, it's all about food and labor. Those are your two biggest costs in a restaurant, behind your rent and all that. But even then, food and labor are your two biggest costs. And you have to really manage what those are controllables. So you have to manage your controllables. You have to budget for them. You have to track it. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So it's all about looking at the information and understanding what the information means. I knew exactly how much of every item on the menu we sold. I knew exactly what our labor hours were. I knew exactly how much beer, wine, and liquor we sold. I know exactly how many people came in through the door, what the guest check average was, all of that. So that transcends into any business, anywhere, doesn't matter what it is. It's all about the numbers, KPIs, and the metrics that make up those KPIs. So number one, management, leading, delegating, motivating is the same across any industry. People are people, doesn't matter what industry you're in. So it's number one, it's all about people. So the business, my philosophy of business is people, operations, profit. Okay, like a lot of people know Marcus Lemonis, he talks about people, process, profit. I use operations instead of process because that's everything in the operations of a business. Any business is income and expenses, whether it's a business, whether it's a real estate deal, doesn't matter. It's all about income and expenses. And when you talk about income, you have different revenue centers. And then when you talk about expenses, you have fixed costs, you have controllables, your fixed costs, and you have your controllable costs, and then you have your variable costs. So it's understanding, where does your income come from? How much can you derive? And then what are your expenses? How do you control them? You have your fixed expenses you can't do anything about. Then you have your controllables, your variable expenses. That's what you can control. And then you have, waste. So in any business, slippage, waste, those are your biggest issues that you have to control. So I just kind of applied those two skills. And what's really interesting is construction, especially building buildings. It's all about line items, budgets, controllable costs, waste, slippage, those types of things, just like a restaurant. So when you're breaking down the budget, whether it's an income producing property or a development property, you have all your little line items, all your little expenses, and it's all about bringing that project in on time and on budget. Just like a restaurant, we budgeted our labor, we budgeted our food, based on a certain amount of sales we expected to do. So same kind of thing. We would bring that restaurant in budget every single week, and it was all about exceeding, our profit goals every week, and we bonused our people based on, exceeding those goals. Same thing in a building company. We had those goals for a job. It had to be done a certain amount of time under budget, and I would bonus people based on those results. So it transferred over really well.